great day for us. We're so thankful for the opportunity for Ed to be out.
A new day and a new chapter beginning in a high-profile murder case from 2 decades ago for that man. Welcome to the News at 10. We begin tonight with a federal judge ruling that a local man who you just saw convicted of murdering a toddler in 1996 and then sentenced to life in prison should be given a new trial. He's out from behind bars tonight for the first time in over 20 years.
The judge made the order in part because Ada County prosecutors failed to disclose some favorable evidence to the defense.
Our Alex Livingston was at the Ada County Jail tonight when Ed Stevens walked through the doors. She joins us in the studio with more. Alex.
Mark and Kim, it was an emotional reunion, as you can imagine, for Stevens and his mother and lawyer. But this isn't close to being over. Today, Edward John Stevens walked out of the Ada County Jail, a free man, at least for now.
I'm filled with emotions. I'm filled with a lot of optimism about actually going back to court and finally having some truth come out.
For the last 2 decades, that wasn't the case.
I have a lot of mixed emotions. It's been 21 years.
He will find himself in another courtroom in May of 2019. Facing a new trial and fighting a first-degree murder conviction from the late 90s. This story begins in December of 1996 and would go on to become a case that made national news.
What's the problem there? I have an 11-month-old seems to have fallen down the stairs.
This is a 911 call that Edward made in December of 1996, claiming this 11-month-old baby, his girlfriend's son, Casey Whiteside, fell down the stairs.
It was just a rapping kind of.
It's a noise that Edward says woke him up from a nap. Prosecutors argued this wasn't the case, and it wasn't an accident.
The injuries that were fatal were a combination of shaking and impact.
They brought in abuse experts, doctors, babysitters to paint the picture of an abusive caregiver that ultimately killed Casey.
We're not talking about throwing a child up in the air, and we're not talking about going back and forth like that. It would look something more like this.
The defense attorney painted a very different picture.
I did not willfully murder Casey Whiteside.
That of a loving, caring father figure.
Casey became my best friend very early on. He gave me a chance to be a kid.
At the end of this case, Miss Meehan and I are going to ask you to find this defendant guilty of murder in the first degree.
The first trial ended with a hung jury.
Can you tell us anything at all about why a decision couldn't be made?
Rather not talk about it.
In the second trial,
the good litigator, the good lawyer, the good prosecutor tries to learn what they can from the split jury verdict.
More experts, more testimonies, and a different outcome.
We find that the defendant, Edward John Stevens, is guilty.
It was very emotional for the family, and we'll just go back to work.
I'm glad he's been convicted, but I had to lose a son to have to stay, and that's not right.
I spoke with Casey's biological father, Garth Whiteside, this afternoon, and he sent me this statement. He says in part, quote, "Today was a troublesome day for my family and I. We were informed of the release of Edward Stevens, who was convicted in 1999 for the first-degree murder of my son, Casey Whiteside, who was 11 months old at the time." He goes on to say what the most alarming part is that he was granted bail for a few $1,000s as he waits on a new trial, end quote. I also spoke with the prosecutor on this case now. She says the prosecutor's office will appeal the judge's decision to grant Stevens a new trial, but they will be trying him again. That trial starts in May of 2019.
A big development in a very long case. All right, Alex, thank you.